Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show tonight. Tonight's guest, we have a repeat of Black Man Speaks, Man of Color. And they're in the studio. We're bringing in the pioneers of Black Man Speaks, Man of Color. And we're going to bring in and allow them to speak and tell us what this organization is about, how it was founded. And we're going to bring them in and let them introduce themselves. And thank you for having you guys on the show tonight. We appreciate you having you guys on the show tonight. So, welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
And we're more than glad to have you guys. We have an organization out of Oakland, California, and I'm understanding you guys are some of the founders of the organization.
Yes,
Yeah.
co-founders.
Co-founders, okay.
I was an early member.
Early member. Okay, you being an early member, what is your name?
My name is James Glenn.
James Glenn, your name, sir?
Kenneth Davis.
Pleasure to have you guys in the studio. Now, you being one of the earlier Black Man Speak, Man of Color, give me a little understanding of the organization.
Well, Basic Black Man Speaks came into existence when two individuals came together. And what they basically wanted to decide is that a large part of who we are is what we say, and oftentimes we don't come from an authentic place because we don't really say what we feel. Mm-hmm. So one of the things of Black Man Speak was to really deal with the trauma of being a black man and all the dynamics of that experience and that narrative. So it was Darnell Livingston and
DeWitt Buckingham.
And DeWitt Buckingham, who was the founders.
And I was the middleman.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I knew DeWitt. I knew him personally. So we're talking about 11 and 12 years ago, when basically upon coming to, we had to come to 3 meetings, and as a result of that, you became a member. But what the narrative and what the objective is, to be in a position to look at your wife through the lens of change, transformation, and empowerment.
Okay. And you, sir?
Yes, as he said, DeWitt Buckingham and Darnell Livingston was the founders of the organization. And what we came to a decision to do was to begin a speakers bureau, which would allow men of color as well as black men to speak their struggles and successes in their struggles, and relate those successes and struggles to other people, like high school kids, other organizations in other communities. And through that, we were able to come together and establish a forum. And we built a speakers bureau, which was supported by Alameda County Pool of Consumer Champions and Peers and Best Now. And through those organizations, we were able to do services throughout the community, mass amount of services. And we're still doing it and still asking for services to be rendered we can do.
Okay, that's right on. Well, you guys are doing good work out in Oakland. I've been to your office a few times, and Brother Suja was a personal friend of mine. We go way back. You know, I'm formerly incarcerated. He's formerly incarcerated, so we did a lot of time together inside.
Yes.
So I tell people we had to go through what we had to go through to get to where we are now, and that's what we did.
Yes.
You know, so we're out, and he's doing some big things. He came out with Boots on the Ground movement, and he's doing some things, and I'm gonna have him back later on in the show.
Yeah. Suja was appointed by our project coordinator,
Well,
Joe Anderson.
Yeah, Joe, who's the director, who basically was the director for 10 years after DeWitt Buckingham and Darnell Livingston made their transition. And upon his transition, Joe Anderson made his transition 2 years ago in August, and then when he made his transition, Suja and I were appointed executive co-directors, and I did since step down because I had to take care of my auntie and had other challenges and experience. But he's done a remarkable job offering vision, support, and direction in terms of people who are incarcerated, people with mental health challenge, and homelessness. So the whole point is just expanding from the narrative of a speakers bureau, which is the power of speaking your word, in terms of really understanding our story. Oftentimes we don't really manifest or demonstrate insight and reflection in terms of our own life experience. But when you write down your history and your story, you begin to see themes, concepts, and ideas. And what it is really about reinvention. That's what you did. You reinvented yourself in prison, you reinvented yourself out here, and you made a commitment to the transition of being able to upgrade the quality of who you are. And that's what we're doing, is basically looking for the liberation of Black people through their understanding and appreciation and knowledge of themselves, and to be proactive in their own recovery, transformation, and empowerment.
Right on, right on, right on. So Black Men Speak, the organization, they're dealing with problems in the community.
Struggles in the community.
Struggles,
Exactly.
and they're addressing the thing that's going on in the communities. I understand you guys have a yoga.
Yeah, we have a yoga
Okay.
trainer who's really. I just met him today,
Okay.
so I'm excited about getting into that class.
Yeah, I saw a video a couple of weeks ago, and you guys out in the park, and he was beginning the yoga in the park. That was really something. The Black folks in the park doing yoga.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
really,
it's
that's
something
different.
new, something good.
It's
Yeah.
different. It's different.
Yeah, I was able to speak at one of those sessions, because what he does, he chooses to have speakers from the community come and speak. And what the basic concept is wholeness and health. And so it's all about, spiritual unification between your mind, body, and soul. And so that's what the brother does. And so what he does is, you have some people out there who are like rubber bands, and you got some people who are stiff as a board.
Right.
But nobody's in no one's evaluating, because what the brother demonstrates is that life is a participation sports. And this is just basically a network of people coming together. And this is a part of a larger concept no one really even talks about.
Right.
Is what it is Black people falling in love with each other all over again.
All over.
We having a love affair with ourselves again, because we no longer validate and acknowledge the acceptance of what somebody else say about us, but come from that point of authenticity and personal experience with its own trauma, And that's the power of the story.
That's right.
Really, that's the power of the story.
Yeah. I when I saw it on television, I was at home, and I saw them I turned on that, and I said, "This is right on. It's right. We got Black folks in the park really getting into themselves. Some things that we never did. We didn't confront it. We ignored it. It was there, but we ignored it. But you guys are attacking the beast.
Right.
You guys are doing something that hasn't been done before, and you're admirable for that. The work that you guys are doing, continue doing it.
Thank you.
Yes,
Continue
sir.
to do it. You can always have haters. You can always have people putting you down. You come on, man. Okay, that's what they did. They talked about Jesus Christ. They talked about Prophet Muhammad. They talked about everybody. But they continue to do what they were doing. And look at the world now.
Right.
So if you continue doing what you're doing, you can make a change.
Right.
You can make a change. You may not change the world, but you can make a change in the world.
Right. But we can't. But the thing I'm offering, you can change it one person at a time.
One person at a time.
And what we're talking about is, we're talking about changing the consciousness. We're talking about an awareness of an understanding of looking at yourself in a different way. It's just like you've grown. You're not the same person you was when your incarceration took place. But there was a metamorphosis happened, not by a sprinkle of water or just a blind action of fate, but being proactive and active, engaged and involved through reflection, insight, study, and trauma and hard work. But the whole part, but your ability to succeed what it is. And that's the thing that we have to allow young people to understand. It ain't no fast fix. I don't care whether you're selling dope on the corner or you going to college. The key is having a goal and having a plan for your life, and investing your money in developing a future, and treating yourself and others with dignity and respect.
That's right. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. So we have to address the beast and go with it. And go with it. Yeah. So the jobs that you are you retired from somewhere? Are you
Yes, well, I'm a retired worker. My last job I did was about 2 or 3 years ago with Amazon.
okay?
I worked with them, and before that, I was a driver for Uber and for Worldpack.
Okay.
Yes.
That's right. Right.
Basically, I worked in warehouses all my life.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I love warehouse work.
Yeah. I'm a retired shipyard worker. I worked in the shipyard.
Well, that's good
Oh, wow,
too.
okay.
I worked in
Yeah.
the shipyard for years. Yeah. Yeah, I was a contractor. I worked in Todd Shipyard and
Alameda.
Bethlehem Steel, AAA. I worked in, which was out West Marine. I worked at all the shipyards,
Oh, yeah.
and that's where I retired from. But I went back to work. You know, that's crazy. Went back to work. But I love it. I got to do something. You know,
Yeah.
I have to
Oh, yeah.
stay busy.
Yeah, me too. I have to stay busy, and this organization allows me to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, I'm able to express my lived experience, the qualities and the inequalities of life, and just able to accept what God has given me,
Right.
and just go forth and go on.
Exactly.
And it's been working. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you know, I was talking to a young lady the other night and was telling me about the reason why we're here. You know, people always ask me, I mean, what you here for? What do you think you're here for? You know, that's a quick fix for me. You know, I'm here to be of service.
Mhm.
I know what I'm here for.
That's right.
Right.
You know, it took me, I had to go through the hoops and all that kind of stuff to find out and realize what I am here for, but we're only here for a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the period of time has to be used in the right way. You know, if we don't use it the right way, we go out the wrong way. So we got to use it and be service to the people.
Can I add something to that?
Anything.
What I would like to add, in life you have talent, skills, abilities, interests, and your calling and gifts.
Right.
To reach the highest level of consciousness, human expression is to know what is your calling. Because what your calling is the essence of who you are, and how you can judge what your calling is, like Richard Bowles says in the 3 Parachutes and the 3 Boxes of Life, is what is it that you're willing to do for free?
Right.
And what gives you the greatest compassion? And the greatest compassion, being in recovery, is being able to empower people to understand their voice. Now, where I come from is I worked 17 years in transportation distribution, but then I worked in mental health in the capacity of a peer counselor, clinician, working in assessments, treatment, outreach, crisis service, support, treatment planning. But the thing that I did is, in my work, I developed my own modality. I had to develop my own concept of dealing with it. Because what I noticed from the first week that I went working there, the things that they were telling me to do were invalidating. One of the first things that you don't do to a black person is tell them what to do.
Sure.
It's an art and a science offering. You say, can I offer you an idea? Are you willing to look at this?
Yeah.
Have you thought about this? There's another way of doing it. So there's all kind of ways that you can suggest to an individual. But one of the things that I learned is it's all about listening. I talk a lot, but people don't realize I'm a great listener. So it's about allowing people to feel comfortable within themselves, and they'll immediately allow you to know when they see us in their benefit. All human beings act out of self-interest.
Sure.
And the whole thing is, people know when you have the interest in mind and when you're compassionate and sincere. You can't fake commitment. You can't fake compassion. You can't fake love. You can't. You that's something you can't fake.
It's impossible to do. Yeah, it's impossible to do. Well, we got two gentlemen from Black Man Speak, Men of Color, and you guys have some interesting things that's coming out of you, and we want to continue talking about Black Man Speak, Men of Color, because we have an audience, and the audience is listening to what we're saying, and we want to be able to have them. We want to draw them. The Black Man Speak, Black Man of Color, and so we want to continue our conversation into what the organization is about, and what they do.
Thank you.
That sounds good.
Okay, so what do you do? Why do you do it?
My service is when we started, DeWitt Buckingham would have us come to the meetings, and he would say, I'm not going to say what each person's quality is, but I want that person to pick their quality and do a service with that quality to the community. That's what he would say to us. And that's what I do. What I like doing, services in my community, I do in-home care for other senior citizens. I go to shelter establishments, and with a phone call, my boss calls me, and I go pick up food and groceries to take to the different houses where senior citizens and transitional clients live. So I take those groceries and I distribute them to about 5 houses.
Okay.
And other services I do is make sure that with this COVID-19, a lot of families are inside, so a lot of garbage builds up in the homes.
Right.
So I'm able to come into some of the establishments and and relieve them of some of that trash. And I do that with the truck that I drive, and I do that weekly and daily. A lot of other things I do is like just going to the meetings with POCC, Alameda County Pool of Consumer Champions. We have meetings that I was once a part of. I was a steering committee member. Now I'm not because of my time was up, right? So I don't do that no more. But that's basically what I do. I stick with the format of community services with Alameda County Pool of Consumer Champions, and I do services on my own with my boss and the people that I stay with.
Okay.
It's about 5 houses I do work with.
That's great.
And every once in a while I get to work with this gentleman.
Okay.
So, I guess looking at the historical narrative of my association with Black Men Speaks going back maybe 11 years ago. Matter of fact, Joe Anderson, who basically ran the organization for basically 10 years, from basically 2010 to 2020. He was a real good friend of mine. I worked with him in terms of training and preparation, outreach. And then since I've graduated and when he made his transition, they named Suja Johnson and myself co-director. And what basically we did was to create a new vision, a new concept, a new idea. So what we basically we did, and I stepped down a year ago, but what we did is create a new identity, which not only was a speakers bureau, but also mental health outreach. We did a workshop of understanding how do we internalize trauma, how do we normalize trauma. We did a lot of outreach during the COVID crisis, hooking up people with medical, housing, food, and support. And also did a lot of peer counseling and transporting people to the appointments. So what my basic component now, what I'm doing, because I'm remodeling my house and I'm getting running, but my main thing is peer educator, outreach coordinator, and training. And so my thing is to be in a supportive capacity. Suja is really a dedicated individual. The thing that I've been saying is that the brother has a vision, he's dedicated, and he works really hard. Sometimes we may in the past maybe not look eye to eye, that's good, but the main thing is being focused on the prize and the solution, and not being problem based, because that's the whole thing that's undermined a lot of organizations is personality. But I think once you keep your eyes focused on what the goal and the objective is, discussion is good, and even discontent is good. But the key is the format and how you look at it, and not looking at it purpose, and have measurable goals and being open to new ideas. But I enjoy it. I like the fact that now they have a component where they're doing, we could train criminal justice, looking at de-escalation of policeman involvement, looking at crisis interventions and how that looking at teen violence, gun violence. That's something we've done. There has been several disputes, and one family had a member who was killed, and we have offered them counsel, financial services, and whatever. And we've done community mediation, because the whole point is that as a community we're hurting. And oftentimes, when you hurt, you only go off on the people you love. You don't go. You don't go off when you upset and frustrated. You going off. Your wife ain't got nothing to do with what happened to you. She ain't even seen you. She ain't even see you 12 hours and you tripping with her. So the whole key is for us to have a real clear idea of who we are, where we at, what we're doing, what we want, what's getting in the way, and be engaged in a plan. And that's the thing I love about Suja and the current organization, is that we have a plan, objectives, and activities, and now it's about getting everybody involved. And we're developing a collaborative network within the community. I think it's kind of like every 40 years, Black people go through this awakening. In the 20s, the Renaissance. In the 60s, the Black Power movement. Now it's the Black Lives Matter. And so the whole thing is really understanding that we have to be proactive and engaged and involved. The benefits that we gain was because of our involvement. We don't even have affirmative action. See, if we had affirmative action, Therefore, through affirmative action, that would state unequivocally that how many you would have to have some representation of minority people on the police department. You had that in Oakland.
Yeah.
And you notice when you had affirmative action, you always have police violence. I'm not getting, that's a fact. But with affirmative action, community boards, and us involved in education, we have to be the change that we desire.
Sure. Yeah, we have to be. Yeah, we have to take part. That way, we're taking part in it.
Right.
We're being part of it. So they have somebody else to answer to.
Right.
And right now, there's nobody to answer to. That's why they run amok.
Yeah.
It's trying to run amok. So the work that you're doing is admirable. I really do. I see you guys doing work, and I admire you guys doing what you're doing, because we don't have a lot of groups helping ourselves, helping our people. We don't have a lot of organizations helping our people. There's very, very few left. You know, and like you said, back in the day, we had the Black Panther Party, we had people defeating the kids and taking care of the community. But nowadays we got, like you say, Black Lives Matters. It's okay, it's working, but there's a lot more to be done. It's a lot more to be done. Yeah, but you got to start somewhere. You know, you start somewhere, you wind up somewhere else where you should be, and you cover the whole area. So slowly but surely, that's what's going to happen. So,
And I think there's been a paradigm shift. I think the whole thing is the oneness concept of even Europeans and Caucasian people understand the inadequacies of the whole human condition.
Sure.
I mean, one of the things about the C-19 was the medical disparity. I mean, the medical disparity didn't just hurt black people, Latinos, and Asians. It hurt a lot of Caucasian people too. So that's the thing that we have to look at, is the commonality of the human experience. And oftentimes race has been a deception. It's been a distraction to cause discord, to not allow us to understand the commonality of the human experience and what we all need. And when you begin to really see the polarities, we try to make the polarities extreme. When you break down those polarities into the commonalities of the human experience, you find that there's a lot of common ground.
Sure.
You know, I mean, when you're in Flint, Michigan, it don't make a difference if you're black or white. The water is bad.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so the whole thing is, it's not just a black and white narrative. It's about the narrative of America living up to the piece of paper. It's all about what Martin Luther King said. All I want America to do is what she said on paper.
Exactly.
That's all, you know, and that's the whole idea. But the whole thing is, these individuals who came and created this component, they came from a very oppressive thing. And that's one of the things unique about the human experience, is that people who oftentimes were oppressed often become extreme oppressors themselves.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. Well, gentlemen, it's a pleasure to have you guys in the studio. It really is. I think I've done 3 or 4 shows of Black Man Speaks, and I'm telling Suja that we have a forum here, and it's used for formerly incarcerated people coming home from incarceration. They need to tell their stories, and that's why I'm here behind this camera, allowing people to come home and tell their stories, because we go in and they throw us away. And say, well, he did whatever he did, and they ain't no good, and just leave him alone. Well, no, you know, he went in that one way, and he came out another way. But the same way he went in, he's not that same person. He went in 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He's not the same person, so he's a different person today. So I allow people to come home and tell their story. And this studio is for people in our community. They need to know what's happening in the community. You know, we bring Black Man Speaks, and we bring people in our community to let people know what's going on in the community, because a lot of people don't know.
There's disconnect where it is. Right. But I want to add something to this. I don't think it's just the incarcerated. I think the biggest prison is a person's in jail and don't know they're in jail. A lot of people in jail from their own trauma, arrogance, ignorance, fear, and indifference. And the whole point is when you are living a life that is not uplifting, meaningful, that offers you joy, happiness, and feeling. I could say myself, I was in a living hell of my own making because of my own conscious choices and stuff. So the whole point, what I'm adding, there's a lot of jails, you know, and I would add to the fact that, you know, some of them jails that may not be physical jail can be maybe more deadlier than the physical jail. Like, you know, like people smoking that dope in 80. You know, yeah, they wasn't in no jail, but they was in the jail of addiction. And I've seen some people, even myself from my own experience, went through, that was like a hell. So, you know, you don't have to go die and go to hell. You create a hell right here on earth by your thinking.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Right here on earth. That's right. You can be miserable as hell.
Yeah.
Right here.
Right here.
And, you know, sometimes if you don't live up to what you was put here for, then you die in vain. You die useless. You're not doing nothing while you was there, and you're gonna be asked, did you know what you was doing? You got to be accountable.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
We asked you, did you know what you was doing? No, I don't think. Well, come on, I recorded it. I got it right here. You want to look at it?
But what does the Holy Quran say? The Holy Quran can look at three things:
Right.
your mind, your tongue, your heart, and your hands.
That's right. That's right.
And you're gonna have to give a testimony. Guess what? You can't say nothing.
Yeah, I can't say nothing.
So Allah gonna look at them four things: your mind, your eyes, your mouth, and your heart and your hands.
That's right. You got to be accountable.
Man, you got to be accountable. So, and this the whole thing. Guess what? Nobody gets a pass.
No, you don't get a pass.
Nobody gets a pass.
There ain't no pass.
There ain't no pass.
If you didn't know, you're going to know. If you didn't know, you're going to know. You know, it's that simple. You know, so we have to do work while we're here on earth. We got to do work because we're going somewhere else. You know, and we got to be accountable for it. So the work that Black Man Speaks, Man of Color doing, you guys doing some outstanding work. I had the Hispanic brother and sister on a couple weeks ago. And they came over and they, you know, we got all kind of people that's in this organization. We got Hispanics, we got Black folks, we got people that's in the organization that's helping their people. And because we don't, see the thing is that people dislike us, but they don't know why. We dislike ourselves and we don't know why.
Go on, man.
You see, so we have to understand, where did this come from?
That's right.
Where did the root come from? You know, we got to pull the root
Right.
and get back to basics. You know, we are a people of this world, and we ain't going nowhere. We're going to be right here, so we got to figure out what we're going to do while we're here. And we got to be a servant. We got to wake up the dead.
That's what it is. It's about college. It's just like, you know, a man says, we've been robbed of the knowledge of self.
Exactly.
We're the only people on the planet who don't know our name, language, or culture.
Something?
I mean, we're the only people on the whole planet who don't know their name, language, or culture.
Something. Let's go.
You know, so the whole point about what is that whole process? So therefore you become something else. So what is this something else? And the underlying premise of this something else is self-hatred and lack of self-knowledge. And so therefore what happens when you rob the individual of the knowledge of themselves, or you participate in a process of denying yourself or knowing your authentic spiritual self, therefore what is that life called? I'm saying, what is that life called? What is a life called with no purpose, meaning, happiness, or joy? What is that called? Is it called an experience? Is it called a situation?
Well, it's non-existent. It's nothing. It don't even exist.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You know, so it's death.
That's all it really is.
It's death.
That's all it really is.
That's what it is. That's what it results to death.
Yeah.
You know, you don't exist no more.
Yeah.
You know, they got people walking in right on Earth. They breathe in the air that somebody else could be breathing.
That's remember I said living dead. Remember we talked about the people in prison.
Right.
See how we come right back. That's what I'm talking about. Right. They ain't in no. They ain't locked down in no jail.
Right.
But the jail they in is colder than any jail.
Yeah, isn't that cold?
The jail talking about the jail of lack of knowledge and hatred and bitterness and judgment. Man, they colder than any jail.
Yes, it is.
Colder than any jail.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, gentlemen, I thank you for being here on this show this evening.
Thank you very much for having us.
And this show is going to be viewed Saturday night, 7 o'clock on Channel 29. This evening, I'm going to put it on YouTube, so it'll be saw around the country. You know, where people follow the Wendell Lee James show around the country. So people will see this interview that you guys have taken part in this evening. Okay. And we're going to bring you guys back.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. So thank you, gentlemen.
Truly
thank you.
Yes.
Right, thank you.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the show this evening. We appreciate you for coming on watching the show. And if there's anything that you can tell me to enhance our program and make it better for the viewers, call the show, call the studio, and let them know that you have some information you'd like to get to me, and I'll get it, and we'll make it better. So thank you for watching the show, and stay tuned for Saturday night, 7 o'clock on Channel 29. Thank you. Have a good evening.